Boxing Day. Oh, it's not Boxing Day, but it feels like Boxing Day because it's the day after Thanksgiving, Greg, when everybody is going to Nordstrom's to return their ridiculous gifts that their men gave them. But we are no longer going to trash Valentine's Day. We are not going to talk about our bromance with Tom Brady today. We might, who knows, right? But I don't know. It just seems like, and I know it's in Denver and Boulder as well, and I'm going to describe her to you, okay? I'm going to describe her to you, right? She could be 23, she could be 25, she could be 37, she could be 42 years old. If she's in her early 20s, she's getting out of a Jetta or she's getting out of a Tiguan, right? Or a Prius. Okay?
I have to laugh because that was Amy's first car.
Okay. All right. It's the middle of the day. It's a Wednesday. It's a Thursday. It's a Monday. It's the middle of the day. She's got this look on her face that she doesn't have a care in the world. If she's in her early 30s and she's really pretty and she gets out of this Range Rover and she's just happy as can be, but she's got a little scowl on her face too, because the older she gets, the more of a scowl she got. It's like almost like she sold her soul to the devil. She's 43 years old and she's got even more of a scowl and she's getting out of a Range Rover and she's on the phone and she's texting and her nails are done perfect and her hair is great. And they're all wearing the same fucking outfit. Lululemon pants.
So knew you were going there.
All right. Every single one of them is in Lululemon pants. It's the middle of the day. And I don't know about you, but I think to myself, who is paying for this shit? Because somebody is, because they're not independently wealthy. Now, are there some women that go to yoga in the middle of the day and walk around in Lululemon? Yes. Okay. Are there some women that have earned the Range Rover? Absolutely. Are there some women that can pay their $199 lease on their Jetta? Absolutely. But the more miserable the woman who's wearing the Lululemons, the more I think to myself, did she sell her soul to the sugar daddy devil?
Yeah, there's a lot of that in Cherry Creek around Denver for sure. See it all the time. I know, obviously, we see it all over LA, but there's a lot of different ways that somebody's paying for that shit. Some guys are just cutting a check, right? They're just paying for it. They're paying for it directly, and the woman runs around and does her own thing. Other situations are where maybe she does have a job, she does pretty well, but she has no expenses because she lives rent-free. All of her food's paid for, all of her dinners are paid for, a lot of her clothing is paid for, so she gets to spend her money on her yoga classes and Pilates and whatever else she likes to do. Then the final woman is maybe that somehow, some way she was given the money as a gift for who knows what. So I'm trying to figure out where's your head with this? Where do you think? What are you thinking about?
It's funny. I play a game called the Lululemon Backstory.
Okay.
I'm always trying to figure out who, where, and a lot of the times I'll talk to some of the women because I'm really curious because I want to know what the fuck do these people do? How are they walking around in Lululemons at 1:30 on a Tuesday afternoon? How are they not working? So sometimes I'll start talking. And I would say 20% of the time, it's a successful woman who is working her own company, doing her own thing, taking a yoga class in the middle of the day, right? Highly intelligent, highly driven, really well, spoken. I mean, really just motivating, like no different than you and I, right?
Sure.
I'd say another 30% of the time is somebody who is barely surviving. They're working a nighttime job, right? They're doing a bartending job or a waitress job, and this is their time to go and literally work on their Lululemons and go to a yoga class. That's usually the Jetta driver. The Jetta driver is usually the girl who's actually working the night shifts somewhere, right? Or the Prius driver, and this is her time to work out. But the other 50% is the dun 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 dun, the Lululemon Golddigger, right? She is the woman who has taken the payoff, whether she's got a big ass wedding ring on and she's married to somebody. It doesn't mean that she's a full-on gold digger. There are some of these women who do walk around that are in very beautiful, nice, loving relationships. They're probably that 10%. The other 40%, they've all sold their soul to the Lululemon devil. They've literally gone and married somebody they don't want to be with. They're literally on the take, because there's a lot of gold diggers running around LA and Cherry Creek and Boulder, girls that are hustling money from men so they can go and do absolutely nothing. There's the ex-wife, Lululemon girl, the one that got the settlement, that feels like she doesn't need to work, so she'll walk around in her Lululemons all day long, literally living off of someone else. There's the one that had the guy write the check, and he doesn't really care, because he's got a hot girl that wears Lululemons. It's interesting. The Lululemon story is really interesting because it really exposes how much of our society is really working somebody else for money. And it's always been something. It's never, this is not an old game, sugar daddy, gold diggers. This is not an old game at all. It's just exposed now because Lululemon has become a status symbol to walk around in. I mean, it's $100 for a pair of pants that cost them 25 cents to make, So everybody wants it. And you can tell by the cars that they drive. We're in a very statusy Instagram society now. So everybody wants to be seen a certain way. So I think it's more easy to see the gold diggers running around, or the women that were paid off in their divorce and they're not really super happy. And don't forget, there are people that are happy, and there are people that are working it, and there are people. So don't fucking just jump and hang on my words here and think that I'm only trashing every woman that wears Lululemons a certain way. It's not true. There's a percentage that are good. There's a percentage that are she-devils. What about you, man? What's your perception on the Lululemon backstory?
Well, first of all, we got to be careful how much judgment we pass here. But the reality is that, money, the money is the root of all evil statement is really true, because most women they'll settle, or they'll give up on love for a lifestyle. And I think it's really sad. I mean, I've seen it so many times. I mean, my ex-wife's right in the ballpark. I sold my soul, were her words to me one time. And I looked at her like, wow, really? You're not that old. Still got your looks. You're working. I don't understand why you have to sell your soul. But when social pressures of being in Boulder, being in Cherry Creek, being in LA, there's social pressure there to be with a man that has money, to be with a man that's successful. And I know this is what drives all your men crazy that don't have a lot of money, that are out there trying to meet women, watching these women parade around with this dude that's, maybe 15 years older than they are and totally out of shape and treats them like a dog. They just give up. They just sell their soul. I don't get it. I don't get it. But it's definitely happening, and people are selling their happiness for it too. The sad part is everybody's losing. The woman's in a relationship where maybe the guy's intellectually stimulating, and sometimes that's the case, and that's why they stick around. But most of the times he's just paying for everything, and they're just loving the lifestyle, and they just have fleeting moments of happiness when they go on their next trip, and they're, get their next brand new Land Rover, or they get their next new pair of Lululemons and get to go and do yoga and Pilates every day and never have a care in the world, and then drink a bottle of wine every night, come home, and their boyfriend or their husband doesn't even talk to them, and then the day just repeats. Little material things keep them going. Little material things keep them happy, but they don't have no idea what they're missing out on.
Yeah, it makes me sad actually to think about it, because I do see it a lot. It's the sellout. I mean, it's a complete sellout for money, where they figured out how to hustle a lifestyle and they don't want to work ever again.
Well, they want to be safe too. A lot of, there's a lot of that. I mean, think about divorced families. I worry about this with my kids, are my daughters going to cling on to the first man that they find that provides safety for them? Daddy issues are real, and maybe that's part of it. And maybe that's part of the reason why these women latch onto it. Cause this is safe. He's got money and he'll take care of me. And yeah, he may not be that great in bed, and we may not have this chemistry, but I've got these things, and I'm safe, and everything's okay. And maybe he'll give me a baby.
Oh God, the baby patrol. Give me a baby. Because we do know Lululemon stretch, we do know they can wear their Lululemons during the pregnancy, the entire pregnancy. And it's also another reason to wear them, because in the 9 months, there can't be anything more comfortable than Lululemons that stretch. I'm sure there's maternity.
Hey, wait. Tom Brady wears Lululemons. So
does he?
He does.
Oh, man, I think the bromance is officially over today. I didn't know he was a Lululemon guy.
He does. He's a big proponent of Lululemons. But anyway,
Jesus, TB12, man. You know, a couple of days ago, we talked about what was in your brown drink, and now I found out that you're a Lululemon guy. Are you selling yourself out? Are you living off your wife's money? I mean, you only make like $45, $50 million a year of your own. Are you selling out?
She's no slouch, man. She makes plenty of money.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. See, it all goes back to Tom Brady all the time.
I got to stop. I couldn't help it.
All the time we bring it back to Tom Brady.
That was relevant. That was a relevant point.
It was. But I do find it, I've always found it really sad selling out, because I think there's something inherently wrong with the way you are. And I'm not being judgmental here, but I'm a self-made person, and so are you, Greg. And I think there's something that's inherently wrong by somebody who actually fucking sells themselves out for a lifestyle, because you're not really having a lifestyle. You're really just attached to material things. You really are not day-to-day happy. There can't be an overall happiness when you're selling out. When you're a Lululemon gold digger and you're selling yourself out, you're literally marrying somebody for lifestyle things. So maybe you got a Rolex watch, and maybe you drive a Land Rover. Who the fuck cares, okay? Deep down, your soul is hurting. Your soul is broken because you haven't experienced what love truly is. You haven't experienced the joy of what love is, because that's why we're all here. Not only that, when you're a Lululemon gold digger and you're a mother, you're teaching your kids that it's okay to use everybody else, because kids are very receptive, man. It's not the lessons you teach them. You could teach them how to go and, how to do your chores. Remember, Tom Brady's kid wanted to buy something at Legoland for $70, right? And Tom says, "Did you make your bed today?" Right? How to go back to Brady one more time. So, you can teach your kids, chores and everything else. But if your kids are watching you walk around in your Lululemons all day long doing absolutely nothing, and they watch the interaction between you and Mr. Lululemon provider, and there's no love or anything else, you're really teaching your daughters how to go and be a gold digger, because they're not seeing love. Because our greatest lesson is to teach our kids love. And then you're teaching your young son that men are men that just give things and provide. So you're teaching men how to not show up for love and expect anything except to be a provider. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes down on a much deeper level with your Lululemon lifestyle than you even ever imagined or thought about, because you're not fucking evolved enough. You're not thinking about the repercussions of your need for money. You're not thinking of the repercussions of your lack of love. You're just thinking about your fucking self in that sense.
That's right. I was waiting for you to get there, man.
Well, I was going there.
It's all about thinking about themselves. I think there's going to be a bit of a backlash, though. I don't know. I think people are getting a little more simplistic, and I think they're starting to realize that, all that shit's not going to buy you happiness. One day you're going to be old, and we realize this because now we're creeping into our fives, and it's a different story. When you're a young woman and you're in your 30s and your 40s and you're dating a guy that's in his 50s and 60s and things are great. The reality is that everybody's got a prenup, right? Prenups are everywhere. And the guys that have the money, they got the prenup for a reason, man, because one day they're just going to be like, yeah, you know what? Bigger, better deal. I think I'm going to move on. Someone else has got better fitting Lulus, or maybe they're one size smaller. And then you're out in the fucking street. You're going to start all over again. And you see a lot. I mean, we have a lot of clients that we coach that some of them are really, I have to see some of the women I've coached with you have been really successful women, like attorneys, business people, salespeople, make a shit ton of money. And they're not in relationships because they work their ass off and they've got their own money and their own shit. But there's those other women that are just scorned because they were in a good relationship and they did have that lifestyle, and all of a sudden it was gone. And they've gotten a little bit older and they were replaced by a younger woman. And that's the reality of the Lululemon lifestyle. Eventually it's going to catch up with you. It can't last forever.
No, it will not last forever. And what happens is you'll get some type of payout, and then you'll be driving around and you'll be like those women that look miserable because all of a sudden you're no longer hot. And now the fact of the matter is you don't even know what love is because you sold yourself to the Lululemon devil. It's Jack Nicholson, right? Jack Nicholson is playing it. Can you imagine Jack Nicholson, right, sitting there like in Shining when he's knocking on, when he's taking the fucking the axe, and he's going, knocking in, here's Jack's here, or whatever he says, and he says,
here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny. And he's got a pair of Lulus. Right? No, he's got a pair of Lululemons on from head to toe, right? Here's Johnny. And it's true. I mean, you're setting yourself up for a very unsatisfactory life. Granted, you may have money, you might have fucking pulled one over on a couple of different people, but you're constantly going to be in survival mode. And what happens is, as you age and the crepe skin starts to show on your neck, and and your eyes start to look old and sunken, and you start to look like a middle-aged woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it is. The aging process is real. It happens to everybody. And your butt expands a little bit because your metabolism is off, or maybe you're going through menopause and things are changing. Let me tell you something. People don't give a fuck about you, because the guys who are providing for your Lululemon life always know there's a younger version. It's like a new car lease they can buy. It's a new toy. And that's what's really gross about the whole relationship, is that really people are just leasing one another. It's just a new toy that you can have. And I know the men that do that. They don't care. It's a cost analysis. They get to show up with you. They get to, and I'm sure for you, it's a cost analysis too. But at the end, they're the one that walks away having all the money. You're the one who gets some type of settlement, and then you need to find it again. And the problem is, the man you can find is 75 years old, because he's the only one who's interested in a fucking Lululemon has-been. Boom! There you go. Bring it back to fucking Lululemon land.
Well, I think the one thing that people need to listen to, and maybe some Lululemon women out there are listening, that if they have that opportunity, I mean, think about the gift of all that time you have to grow as your own person. And I think that's the biggest thing that people miss, is they get wrapped up in the lifestyle and they don't spend any time on themselves. Because let's face it, I mean, these guys with a lot of money, yeah, sure, some of them get girls just because they have a lot of money. But usually it's because they have a lot of money and they have a lot of time and they're interesting and they're smart because they made all that money, that really gets these women to be interested in them in the first place. And then they overlook their shortcomings and they settle into the lifestyle. But what they don't do is spend the time to improve themselves, to become a little more interesting. So if that day ever comes where he's like, hey, I'm just not interested anymore, they can step out as a mature, beautiful, smart, older woman and be better for it. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I got it, man. We're good. So there's your reality today. We went from love to gold digging, and who knows where we'll go tomorrow. Every day is a different reality. Every day is going to show you a different perspective. If you are friends with a Lululemon gold digger, post this on her wall and go, because she's an Instagram Lululemon gold digger. She's on Instagram 24/7. I mean,
she's got a Finsta too.
Yeah, she got a what?
A Finsta.
What's a Finsta?
Dude, come on.
I remember that term. That's East Coast.
A Finsta is your fake Instagram. My kids all have one. They post whatever they want. It's a Finsta. They post random shit. Trying to bust into their Finstas is not easy.
Wow. All right, I learn something every day. You can find us at davidwygant.com. Spread the podcast, post it around, share it. We will see you tomorrow with more reality.